Let's talk about the you that came before the you now. The version you'd sometimes rather forget. The version that made awkward choices, took wrong turns, trusted too quickly or moved too slowly. Yeah, that version. Today we reflect not to relive, but to reclaim. You've changed. Even if you don't feel like it every day, the person you are now is not who you used to be. But that former version of you, they were necessary. They were the stepping stones to this present-day power you hold. There was a time when you had no idea what you were doing. Maybe you said yes when you should have said no. Maybe you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up. But every choice carved out a piece of the wisdom you carry now. We all have a past version of ourselves that we are ashamed of. Maybe it's a poor financial decision you made in the past, a past negative relationship, or a former immoral lifestyle you embraced. But growth isn't possible without evolution, and evolution isn't always pretty. That mess behind you, that was your classroom. The person you used to be often walked into situations they weren't ready for, but went in anyway. That's bravery. Not perfection. Not polished. Just raw courage to keep moving forward in a world that didn't come with instructions. You had moments where you didn't back yourself up. Times when you underestimated your worth. But now you know better. That's not weakness, that's progression. Self-awareness is a superpower, and it often begins with recognizing how far you've come. The old you had dreams. Some of them were small. Some were big and wild and reckless. Even if they didn't all come true, those dreams were the fuel that kept you moving. Don't knock them. They mattered. Reflection isn't about living in the past. It's about standing on it, owning it, using it. Every misstep gave you muscle. Every detour built your direction. Even the things that didn't make sense at the time served a purpose. That past version of you didn't have the tools you have now. They operated with what they knew. And if they knew better, they would have done better. So give them some grace. Give your past self some credit. Your past self moved so you could evolve into the person you are today. You've experienced enough now to recognize patterns. You catch red flags faster. You value your time differently. That's not just growing older, that's growing smarter. Experience teaches what comfort never could. Don't let guilt cloud your growth. You made decisions based on survival, fear, hope, or just being human. That doesn't disqualify you from greatness. That prepares you for it. You've broken cycles. Maybe nobody even noticed, but you know. You stopped following paths that didn't serve you. You've shifted gears. And you're driving with more intention now. The older version of you wasn't broken. They were building. Every awkward stage, every questionable phase, it all brought you closer to who you're becoming. That's not failure. That's formation. Think about how many things you've outgrown. Not just people or habits, but outdated mindsets. You don't think the way you used to. You've sharpened. You've evolved. That is progress. Looking back isn't weakness. It's awareness. The goal isn't to stay stuck in what was, but to recognize what is because of what was. To turn hindsight into insight. There was a time when you didn't know your value. Now you protect your energy. You honor your peace. That's growth with boundaries. Your story didn't begin in success. It began in struggle. And that makes it real. Your journey didn't need to be perfect to be powerful. It just needed to keep going. And that's exactly what you did. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you're always focused on how far you've still got to go. But pause for a second. Zoom out. You're not standing in the same spot you were 5 years ago, or even 5 months ago. You're no longer trying to prove your worth to the wrong people. You've learned how to let go without losing yourself. You've discovered how strong solitude can be, and how priceless self-respect really is. You've faced moments that tested your patience, your loyalty, and your belief in yourself. And yet here you are, wiser, tougher, clearer. You don't fold like you used to. You don't chase what doesn't feed you. Sometimes we want to erase the past. But if you erase the pain, you'd erase the lessons. If you erase the confusion, you'd erase the clarity that came after it. Every part of your past plays a part in your becoming. Give that past version of you some love. They carried the weight so you could eventually walk lighter. They tried even when it was messy, unclear, and unplanned. And they succeeded, because you're still standing. Don't look back in shame, look back in awe. You made it out of things people didn't even know you were in. You kept pushing when no one was clapping. That matters. That counts. Now when you make decisions, you're drawing from wisdom. From scars that healed. From lessons earned the hard way. You're no longer guessing, you're choosing with vision. And you're not done. The version of you today will someday be the past you you're proud of. So live intentionally. Stack your wins. Make the next reflection even more powerful. Some chapters weren't meant to be perfect. They were meant to be transitional. They weren't your end, they were your turning point. Own that pivot. It was necessary. You can reflect without regret. You can grow without guilt. You can move forward while still honoring the road that brought you here. That's what maturity looks like. We are constantly becoming, constantly refining. And every time you look back, let it remind you not of how lost you were, but of how strong you've become. This talk was a reminder to embrace, not erase, your past self. Every version of you played a role in shaping the person you are now. Even the flawed, confused, or quiet versions were necessary building blocks in your evolution. Growth comes from experience, not perfection. And reflection isn't about shame, it's about clarity. You've changed not just because time passed, but because you made intentional choices to grow, shift, and improve. You're no longer stuck in the same mindset, patterns, or places you once were. That means you're progressing, evolving, and walking with more power and purpose. Let your past remind you of your strength, not your mistakes. In closing, your past is not your prison, it's your proof. Proof that you can change, that you can rise, that you can rebuild. Don't let old chapters define you, let them refine you. Use your past self's experiences, whether negative or positive, to build a better present you and a better future you.